Give me big old buckets of butter beer. Give me big old barrels of butter beer. Give me the drink I love so dear. And another round for my friend right here of the sweet old butter beer.
Welcome to the Three Broomsticks. We invite you to pull up a chair, grab a butter beer, and settle in for a hearty discussion about, you guessed it, Harry Potter. I'm Sam Williams.
I'm Sierra Obermark. And today we have with us two wonderful guests, Katie and Tiffany from Swish and Flick.
Welcome!
Hello!
Hi!
So we are from Swish and Flick podcast, and we are doing a reread of the Harry Potter series, as I'm sure everybody could probably guess. We are on the beginning of Deathly Hallows with our podcast, and it's kind of like a book club. So we sit down, go chapter by chapter, but it's not really that anymore. I had kids, so we had to really cut down our time. So some of our chapters are in halves, and some of them are also in thirds. But it's always a good time. We've got a lot of inside jokes, and Katie is the queen of dad jokes.
Oh, yeah. Silly and nerdy.
That's excellent.
It's my goal to make Tiffany roll her eyes.
Which is almost always achieved every episode. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. What are you guys' Hogwarts houses?
So I'm Tiffany, and I'm Gryffindor.
And I'm Katie, and I'm a Hufflepuff. We're both,
oh my God.
Yeah, we're both pretty accurate depictions of our houses.
Absolutely.
That is so funny. I think this continues on the tradition of everyone just being a Gryffindor or a Hufflepuff that's come on Three Broomsticks.
Oh,
Really?
no way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
All of our hosts are either Gryffindors or Hufflepuffs. So Irvin, Sierra, Hufflepuffs, Sophia, Hufflepuff, Aurelia, and myself, Gryffindors. We've got some other people that are coming in to be hosts as well, and I think their houses line up. So you are in good company, hopefully.
Yes.
Of course.
Oh,
Absolutely.
good. Excellent. What about your guys' a little bit of information about your journey to Potter, your favorite book, your favorite character?
Would you like me to go first, Catherine?
Go ahead, Teve.
Okay. So I don't really know how I got Sorcerer's Stone in my hot little handies, but I do remember reading Chamber of Secrets over and over and over and over again. I still have that copy upstairs on my shelf. And in 7th grade, we did a book study on it in our English class. But like ever since then, obsessed, would do the midnight showings of the movies, would do the midnight releases of the books, and I've just been crazy ever since. And my first experience into the parks, so like in Universal Studios in Orlando, I went to MuggleNet Live for the 19 Years Later party, which was pretty cool because I got my first experience in Diagon Alley was when the park was closed. So it was almost empty. It was amazing. Yeah. It felt like I was really there.
That's awesome.
Thanks. My favorite book is Deathly Hallows, and controversial favorite character for some people, Albus Percival Wulfric O'Brien Dumbledore.
Oh, I'm sure Irvin will have tons of questions for you in the chat once this podcast goes down.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, just that was it. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I am.
Tiff's pretty amazing. For sure. I was one of those kids who was like, everybody likes Harry Potter, so I don't want to like Harry Potter. So I refused. And then the movie came out, and I still didn't want to see it. My dad was like, let's just go. And I was like, fine, whatever. And it changed my whole life. So as soon as I saw that, I read all the books that were out at the time, which was up through Goblet of Fire. And then the rest is honestly just history. And now we're here today, on podcasts, and it's nuts.
Yeah.
Nice. Go Dad.
Right. I know. Right. I don't even think he realizes how much he has changed the course of my life. He doesn't care about Harry Potter at all.
What you did.
Right. My favorite book is Prisoner of Azkaban, and then kind of by association, my favorite character is Remus Lupin.
Nice.
Oh, beautiful. You can stay.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I'm just teasing, I promise. I don't know how many people though that I found that love Deathly Hallows as their favorite.
Oh,
that's great. And what a great episode to be on.
I know. I have read and done audiobook on Deathly Hallows so many times. Like I literally do not know the number. It's my emotional support book.
What's really funny? It is. I grew up on the cassettes, the Jim Dale cassettes, and I would play them to bed before I would fall asleep. As an insomniac, like I needed something to focus on, and but I vividly remember that they like the cassettes for Deathly Hallows weren't as readily available. So I spent my allowance on the CDs. And I remember looking over every time and being disgruntled by the fact that they weren't cassettes, even though the sound quality was better on the CDs. And
I am the exact same way.
No way.
Man, yeah.
I have all the cassettes, and then for Deathly Hallows I had to get the CDs, and every time I'm just like, ugh.
So there are no cassettes in existence of Jim Dale reading Deathly Hallows?
I'm sure there are.
Is that what you're
on
telling
like eBay I could find one for
come on, you guys. Splurge. It's for the collection.
No, I mean, I do need to, and I also need to replace my Goblet of Fire because somehow one of the tapes, the actual tape got unraveled. So I think probably a cat got to it. But
okay, we're talking cassettes, correct?
Yes.
If it's not too forward of me, I need to know how old everyone is here because you're speaking my language.
I was born in 1992, making me 31.
Okay.
Same.
So you're still younger than me. I look 17, but I'm 35.
Oh,
yeah, not by much.
That's not by much at all.
No.
I regularly spend my time as the oldest person in a group, so it's kind of refreshing to actually for once not be.
I shall be the elder today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thanks so much for that. I teach at a school that has a lot of turnover, so I started as like in the middle of the group, and now I'm like the third oldest teacher at my school.
Gross.
That's insane.
That's terrible.
That doesn't feel great.
No,
it's okay. The fact that I'm in my 30s is like horrible to a lot of people around me.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Katie, did you say your age?
Oh, I'm 32. So
okay.
Smack dab in the middle.
For now.
For now.
For now.
That sounds like a birthday.
Hopefully we don't
approaching.
stop at 32.
Soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man, that's so funny. Yeah, no, the cassettes were a big deal. I have the same problem as you, Sierra, on book 5. I know exactly where it is. There's the moment where Jim Dale, who like his interpretation of Luna is hilarious to me. But there's this, there's the moment in the Department of Ministry where Luna is running around casting Colloportus on all of the doors. And the voice acting is Collo, like super dramatic stage reading of being blasted apart by, I think, Not. And on that, there was a huge cat attack of the magnetic tape in that cassette in 2005. So the Great Attack of 2005 led to that sounding instead like Collo, and then nothing.
That's awesome.
So I thankfully already had that part of the book memorized because it's like 2 pages. And so I would every night when we would finally get to that, at least 4 times a year, I would crack open the book and just read the 2 pages, and then eventually I had them memorized. I no longer do, so you can't make me recite that. But
by the time my Goblet of Fire tape got destroyed, I was mixing and matching, and so I would literally take all of the tapes, mix them all up, and then just play them. So I'd do A, B, I'd do even sometimes B, A side. It was literally as random as possible, and I would just play it. So it would be like 1 tape of Prisoner of Azkaban, 1 tape of Order of the Phoenix, 1 tape of Chamber of Secrets, and it would just bounce around because I
the darkness
already had them so memorized.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that sounds chaotic, and I love it. I'm here for it. Anarchy. Here we are. Okay. Today, for episode number 18, we have gathered to discuss the 165th chapter of the Harry Potter series, Dursley Departing. Deathly Hallows, Chapter 3. This is Three Broomsticks' last Chapter 3 in 2023, something that we launched specifically just for our little podcast. We will not be doing Chapter 4s for 2024 and so on and so forth. But we are quite excited to have done the 2023 little Three Broomstick joke. And good for us. Good for us. We encourage you to stop the podcast for just a moment. Go and read the chapter, come back to us, and write 12 inches on the uses of Dedalus Diggle's hat.
Let us offer a toast to the comments on episode 15. This episode was our crossover episode with Percy Jackson, and we raise our glass to our very own commenter, Irvin, who said, "Y'all missed Hestia when sorting the gods. 100% Hufflepuff." Yeah, you're right, Irvin. We did miss her.
You're 100%
and
right.
Also 100% Hufflepuff. I agree with all the things that you said in this comment.
This is going to be the shortest raise a toast. Yep. Good job, Irvin. You're right. Thanks. Katie and Tiffany, normally we do a little section that we look at the comments. Our Percy Jackson episode was over 3 hours long. It was a crossover between those two. And that was without a guest. So we had a lot to say about it. It was a very long episode. And consequently, we have very little comments on it.
Yes.
So Irvin,
In fact,
Irvin
there were
thankfully
two
hopped
comments,
in.
both by Irvin.
We're both by Irvin. All the rest of our podcast ones have at least a couple from not hosts. So
Right.
this was a fun little divergent trip into feeling sorry for ourselves.
No.
And now it is here for the chapter summary. And for those who are awaiting a little funny tidbit, I've got something, but it is a little different than last time. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it feels. Chapter 3 of Deathly Hallows. It's the Eternal Camping Trip book, people. And also it's the frickin' Dursleys again. And we're quite excited to be rid of them here at Three Broomsticks, since virtually all the chapters 3s cover them in some way, shape, or form. I mean, how much can you really talk about child abuse without calling up the British version of Child Protective Services and calling in a fictional report? Thank the Lord, Dedalus Diggle comes in with a bit of comic relief. But honestly, the chapter is a beaut in setting the unsettling tone of what's to come. The Dursleys' goodbye chapter is as strange as sort of most of the book's undertone. And although plot-wise it mainly just answers fans' questions of what happens to the Dursleys while Harry quests, it also manages to create a little cherished moments. The climax of which is Dudley having two independent thoughts of Vernon and being concerned for Harry. But honestly, enough with the Dursleys. They don't matter for the rest of the book, and they'll be out of your favorite podcasters' lives for a good long while. So let's send them off to the void of off the page for the rest of the book in true Butterbeer fashion with a pub song. Ahem. The bags are packed, the uncle's mad, the cousin's sad, but Harry's glad. In this chapter, nothing's funny. It's great old Sloppuff, nothing but crummy. Petunia won't cry, can't Vernon comply. This is a PSA, and it's hard to say. Just leave already, there must be a way. So let's sing out with a battle cry, dear Dursleys. Just go f***ing die.
Oh my God.
Very nice. Very
Well done.
Thank
Very
you.
hearty.
Well done.
It feels very pirates in a pub. I don't know. I got like a pirate feeling from that.
Pirates in the pub, indeed. I'm sitting here with Jack Sparrow. Yes, so that's the pub song. Not really sure how that would work full group for us to do, but there it is.
Very good.
Very nice.
All right, let's dive on in to, sorry, that's an American Dad reference for anyone who has a crossover of Harry Potter podcast love and Roger Smith, which is just me, I'm guessing. Let's go into the main discussion for Chapter 3, Dursley's Departing. Sierra?
Yeah, I just thought, kind of beginning to read this chapter again, this chapter can definitely be considered the beginning of the journey to Hogwarts for Deathly Hallows. Obviously, we've done some little podcasts about the journeys to Hogwarts and also these other chapter 3s, which often reference the journeys to Hogwarts. And I was noticing, just looking back on our, not including Deathly Hallows in the previous discussion about getting to Hogwarts, or at least this chapter or an earlier chapter in the book, we kind of touched on the later chapters where they actually get to Hogwarts. But I was noticing so many of the little things that will come into play on Harry actually returning. Starting with the mirror shard. It's seen in the previous chapter, but Harry is still staring at it because he thinks he has seen Dumbledore's eye. Technically he's right.
Yeah. We don't have to specify which one, right?
Exactly. So he stares at it and he puts it in the rucksack that is going with him instead of it remaining, part of the detritus at the bottom of his trunk. Which at the time, I think you're thinking maybe it's just his last memory of Sirius. Of course, he wants to keep that with him, but that really, it becomes important, obviously. It sparks the journey to Aberforth and to Hogwarts. And imagine if Harry didn't keep it. Dobby wouldn't have been able to rescue them at Malfoy Manor because Aberforth wouldn't have known that they were in trouble. And, I think at some point, the death toll would have just been much higher from that escape from Malfoy Manor. Because based on the plot, Harry has to escape that at some point. But that doesn't necessarily mean anybody comes with him.
Yeah, it may have actually ended there. I mean, Voldemort was called back.
True.
Mm-hmm.
So, if Harry wouldn't have been so sentimental, it may have ended very differently. It may have ended there instead of at Hogwarts.
So is this a lesson that it's good to be a pack rat?
No, listen, there's a fine line to be towed.
Especially given the fact that Harry in the previous chapter has just cut his hand up and can't figure out how to heal it.
Yeah.
I think it's wildly ridiculous that the message here is be a pack rat and also pack broken glass in your rucksack.
He should at least wrap it.
I know.
Why didn't he put it in one of his socks?
Exactly. He's used those crumpled socks from Vernon, for the sneakoscope and other things. I'm sure it could be reused for the mirror shard.
And socks are a beautiful theme throughout the book, so
true.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
He knows the spell reparo. Can't he not just point at it and go reparo and all the pieces will just fly back together? I'm confused as to why he's like, the shard.
Not a Ravenclaw. I don't know.
That's so true,
I feel
though.
like that's doing every other house disjustice. It's not like we're all walking around with bleeding fingers from broken glass.
Some of us maybe, though.
No. You'll never tell. Audience, this is an audio-based platform. Thinking about, this is not Deathly Hallows, so we don't have to spend very long on this. But thinking about, the what-ifs around the mirror, I'm like, oh, hold on a second. What if it actually, I just reread Order of the Phoenix, so this is fresh in my heart, but what if he just, opened the package from Sirius and been like, hey, cool, the two-way mirror. I don't need Umbridge's fire. I can just talk to Sirius this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We could have saved a lot of different pain between now and then. I still think Dumbledore finds the ring and starts the Horcrux stuff in Deathly Hallows.
Yeah.
Not Deathly Hallows, Half-Blood Prince. But the Sirius might be around still, and also he might be the one looking at the mirror, which could also end with Harry's life in Malfoy Manor, because Sirius probably gets killed between now and then. But it is interesting to think about the what ifs around that little mirror. What if he opens it? What if he uses it? What if he repairs it? What if he can talk to Aberforth the whole time? What if?
I think that's something that's beautifully in this story about the hero's fate. I'm a firm believer, especially with fantasy stories, fate, with siding with the hero of the story. I just enjoy it because it's all these other things can happen, but they didn't.
Does stink for the fate of all the side characters that die along the way, but good for Harry.
No, somebody's got to go. Otherwise, it's a Sarah J. Maas series, and all the key players are still among the living. I don't know if you know those books at all.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You know, it was really funny. We on Alohomora, we once had the pleasure of interviewing Emma Watson's body double for the first 3 movies.
Ah, Flick. We love Flick.
Love Flick.
Flick is absolutely incredible.
Yes.
And of course, she has the story about reading book 5 in the makeup chair, and Gary Oldman comes in and shouts, "It's me! They've killed off me!" And she got Sirius's death spoiled that way.
Ruined by Sirius himself.
Which, like, if it's going to be ruined, what a way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a beautiful story.
It must be the emotional aspect of the actor playing him. Oh, man. Yeah, it's a crazy moment. Absolutely crazy moment. Also, thinking about this as the beginning to the journey for Hogwarts, it's like, man, this book should have just been called. There's a lot of things that I would like to call it other than Deathly Hallows, which Deathly Hallows is a fine name, but I joke around about it all the time. And now I'm thinking like Harry Potter, and it's taken us way too long to get to Hogwarts because, it's chapter 3 and we don't get there until May.
Yeah.
It's very
He's
true.
really late for school.
It's really late for school. Can you imagine being that
Really
late in real life?
No, because I would be fired. They're like, Sam, we don't do sabbaticals.
Our other host, Meg, her dad calls this book the Dick's Sporting Good commercial. Because they're camping the whole time.
That's awesome.
Oh, man, that's such a good one.
That's a dad joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will just never forget. I read Half-Blood Prince in a day, and I read Deathly Hallows in 3 because I was at a summer camp and I didn't want to be spoiled by any little kid, which they would do frequently. So I just will never forget a bunkmate of mine sort of flipping forward in the book because he was a little bored at one point. And he was like, "Oh my God, they're still camping?" That is seared into my brain. Oh, man.
That's amazing.
Sometimes it's about the journey and not the destination.
You and Tolkien are really all about that, huh?
The literal title of this book. Harry Potter and the journey, not the destination.
Not the destination.
No, you've missed the most important word, Sierra. Harry Potter, and sometimes it's like you have to get the tone in there with the sometimes. Everyone's kind of terrible in this chapter, though.
Yeah, honestly, they are. Everybody's general vibes are just kind of, ugh.
I, being called "oi," it's such a terrible way of being addressed, and like it had been a while since I've really focused on this chapter. I've listened to the book many, many times over the last years, as I do reread after reread after reread. But for whatever reason, it hadn't really hit me, this "oi, you" phase, until I was reading it over last night. Because I had a family member refer to me as someone for years and years and years, and still kind of does, not as much anymore because we haven't talking to about it. But it would be like, "Hey, someone should do the dishes. Someone should go get the luggage." And anytime that was said, I'd be like, I'd get up and I'd go do it, and then eventually I was like, you know what? I'm not. We'll just see what happens. And then somebody else just took on that job, and now their role is sometimes called someone, and it stinks. It's a bad way to be treated. Not being named is like a weird form of mental harm. And like I can't imagine this, our titular character not being named for basically 16 years. I don't remember a single chapter where Vernon actually calls Harry Harry.
No,
it's always like boy or you
or just no
or nothing, just
pronoun
yelling.
at all. Yeah.
It's so true. Yeah.
Do they
Vernon
ever? Though? Does Petunia ever? I know in the movies she does, but I don't want that to cloud my brain.
Yeah. I really don't
want
know.
to say she does once.
Early on?
Early on. I can't remember if it's...
Well, she says it to Vernon when he's like, is it Harold? What's his name? And she's
Okay.
like, Harry,
Sorcerer's
nasty name
Stone.
if you ask
Yeah,
me.
but I'm thinking like specifically addressing
To
Harry.
him.
I want
Yeah.
to say maybe in Chamber or Prisoner one time
It would
she
be
does, but I
it would be epically, awfully, awfully good if they never did. Like
Yeah.
that in itself is beautifully disturbing
Yeah.
as far as villains go, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I just looked up.
Does that make me dark?
We can all have a dark side, Tiffany. It's fine.
Okay.
As Sirius says, we all have light and dark within us. I looked up this Reddit thing, and someone said that they think twice in Sorcerer's Stone. One time telling him to get the post, and one time when they were giving him his room because he was trying
Oh,
to
interesting.
be kind. Brennan was trying
That
to
sounds
be
right.
nice,
That sounds right.
but that's it.
Oh, the tortoise.
maybe that's
Oh,
what
the
I was
tortoise.
thinking of was the get the post. Oh yeah, get the post, Harry, and then make Dudley get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I will, every time somebody brings up the room, I just remember the description of Dudley threw his tortoise out the window.
Oh, poor
And
turtle.
yeah,
R.I.P.
exactly.
Turtle or tortoise. I guess they're different. Sorry.
Harold the turtle.
That was probably a better life for that turtle to go live outside than be Dudley's
Unless
pet.
its shell broke, and then it's
I think it's
dirty.
so cute that you think it survived that throw.
I'm being hopeful.
The eternal optimist lives in you. Well done.
Yes, yes.
Oh, bless you, Katie.
I'd like to believe the same thing, but physics won't quite let me.
I mean, if you watch the movies, Vernon fell out the second story into a bush and survived.
Well, that's more logical. Those are pretty sturdy bushes. I've fallen into bushes such as those before, and it was fine.
Maybe the tortoise got the bush.
Yeah, maybe the tortoise has been living in that bush.
Oh no.
And then when Harry is lying in the flower bed
Under it,
listening to
yeah.
the news, then maybe the tortoise is keeping him company.
I need that fan art so bad.
Just all the times that Harry's outside of Privet Drive, the tortoise is like lurking in the background.
With him. Oh my
The
god.
tortoise is also an unregistered animagus. Hiding from the law.
Keeping
That would
eye
be
on Harry.
wild. That's why he
Mrs.
survived.
Crouch
Right.
the third.
He changed back as soon as he got out the window. Landed in human
Immediately
form. And then,
transformed. Just
I'm out of here.
took off. Now, yeah, okay. I will always be confused if animagus are naked when they transform.
nah.
Because Sirius gets that lovely little robe in the
Sirius
movie.
being extra. I thought we handled this. Can't you
Fine.
see him leaving him, just being like, well, time to go. Won't bother putting on any clothes. Transform.
Yeah. But then how did he get such a matching robe?
Because he's
Did he go to King Cross
he was
the day
holding
before
it. He's
and
like, I'm
leave
just
that
gonna
behind?
hold it. Transform.
Just
It'll come
walks
back
there
and then I'll
in
just
his
put
mouth.
it on.
Okay. Fine. Fine. I accept you this premise reluctantly.
You know who's
Yeah.
also reluctant?
Is Vernon.
Is Vernon. Vernon
Good
is
segue.
very reluctant. Thank you. He is very reluctant. His reactions to rechanging his mind, packing, unpacking, having a weight set dropped on his toes because Dudley decided to take more stuff, which is very Dudley. All of this very much a flashback, callback to escaping from Hagrid in book 1, escaping the letters. Vernon is the same amount of flustered. He is pacing. He's changing his mind. He's pausing. He's, okay, this is the plan. Let's stick to it. Like, he's been packing and repacking the car for a month. Like, that takes a wild amount of A, prep, and B, determination not to go every time. Because I've packed many a car for a road trip, and if I pack that car, I'm not unpacking it to then repack it. That's just, it's done. It's in there. So I just thought it was really it's just fun. The whole callback to book one, you know, he believes the whole thing's some plot. It can't possibly be magically related. You know, it's a plot to get the house this time, which is just a wild accusation.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and just in case the obvious similarities in his behavior weren't enough, Harry specifically says, if you remember the last time you tried to outrun wizards, I think you'll agree you need help. Cue Hagrid crashing through the door of the hut on the rock in the sea noises.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It just shows you like what fear and mistrust and I don't know. I mean, racism. He's clearly a racist against witches and wizards. Will do to a logical thought process. Right. You know, he has evidence that wizards have murdered Harry's parents. Like, that's how Harry is with you. And Harry is telling them that, you know, this is happening again. And, you know, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
I do love the tension in that moment when Harry's being quite terse about, hey, they're gonna torture you to get to me. Mm-hmm. And there's that sort of like moment of, if Voldemort took us, Harry, would you come rescue us?
God. He would.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He would.
Yeah.
As much as like everybody would scream like, oh, no, he cannot not do it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got his saving people thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Ron legitimately would not join them, though. I think he'd be like, this is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And fair enough. And the thing is like, Harry's like, I need to get these people out, so I am not responsible for making a decision to have to save them. Because I don't want to, but I know I will.
Yeah.
Right. And I think also, I think that most of the tension in that moment is just, if the roles were reversed, Vernon would not go and save Harry.
100%.
Hard no.
So I think, you know, Vernon's looking at this from his own perspective of like, well, I wouldn't save him or me. So
you could look at the three characters through that exact lens, right? Vernon, who's holding opposition to leaving, would not save Harry. Petunia, who's feeling very like resigned to all of this, I think would feel like sad if Harry was, and she could, but she would also not. It's only Dudley, the one who treats Harry nicely in this chapter, who's had a total role reversal from the first book, that I genuinely believe might actually attempt to. Mm-hmm. He would die instantly, but
he would try.
I think he actually would. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It is an interesting note. You know, in Chamber of Secrets, we have that little moment where Dudley says for Harry to do something, and Harry's like, you didn't say the magic word. And like everyone blows a gasket, and Vernon essentially like combusts spontaneously on the spot. And Harry has played the game long enough now that when Vernon demands to speak with him, Harry just raises his eyebrow, and he doesn't have to say magic in order to get a please, but he's given one just by the sheer force of his eyebrows.
I think I noted this on our episode on our podcast this past week, is that even the delay in Harry going downstairs to being called, and his body language, you know, his hands are in his pockets, and he's a completely different person. At this point, he has nothing to lose. He's leaving them for what he thinks might be forever, whether it's by choice or by his own death, that he won't make it out of this. Mm-hmm. He's about to turn 17, which would make him of age. He has his own money. He has his own house. He wants for nothing from these people anymore. They hold no power. The Lily's protection is about to break. Like, so his body language in this book is so confident, like he's finally done with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They don't affect him anymore.
Right.
Which is nice.
No power anymore.
I think it's kind of a weird, because Rowling does so many great little nice and tidy moments especially in all of book 7 in finishing up some loose ends, right? We return to Sirius for a second because of R.A.B. We get Lupin's little visit and then his eventual demise. We've got, all the Marauders dying, but their children living on as orphans, all of that sort of stuff. And here we've just gotten 6 books of really horrendous behavior from adults towards a child. And we never really get to see that justice occur. It's almost like, to me, it sort of almost reads like the author is pushing this message of like, hey, they raised them and they were horrible about it, so it's a neutral. And that always gives a weird taste in my mouth when I finish this chapter.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely an opportunity to have like a nice bow. But I think that might be the point and the reality of it, right? This is a fictional story based off some things that are absolutely real. And by Harry not getting an apology is very realistic of some people's experiences with, parental figures.
Yeah,
totally.
Definitely.
And it does leave a bad taste. And Petunia sucks. I hate her.
All right, that's the podcast, y'all. Have a good night.
Deuces. I mean, especially me as a mother and, my profession by day being an educator, which is, whether you like it or not, as a teacher, you're a parental type figure in a lot of these kids' lives because they might not have that experience. And it's reading the Dursleys, particularly Petunia, is just... it's horrid and disgusting, and I don't very much care for it. Thanks for having me on this episode. No, I'm joking.
It is wild when you become more of an adult, especially when you get into positions that like you are directly reading in Harry Potter, right? Like becoming a mother or becoming a teacher. Like when I started teaching and I was rereading books and I was like, okay, so like a lot of people forgive Snape for what he does because he like is essential to Harry living at the end. And I always felt weird about forgiving Snape. And now I really don't feel like I'll ever forgive Snape. Like that's just how, I don't know. It's like looking back at my own high school days and being like, wow, a bunch of my teachers are bad people. Yeah. Like they're immature individuals. That's crazy.
Yeah. See, what I have learned to do with the help of the author Laurie Kim, who is now a very good friend of ours, you can't just be, the one thing. Like you can be horrible to children and also be a hero in some sense. Like you don't have to just stick to one. It can be both, and a very large gray area because she herself says, he's not a good guy. He's not good for these children in some aspects, right? But he does teach them in some ways. And I mean, that could be a whole series on Snape, which could lay on us for podcasting for years. But these people are definitely just not one or the other. They're definitely a bunch of different things.
We're in my English class right now, we're going over logical fallacies. And something that I've been really hammering home is the idea of like two things can be true.
Right.
Like both could be true. He saved Harry, Yeah. He also was a horrendous monster towards many students. Right. He also seemed like he was a father figure to Draco in a way that Draco really didn't really ever feel. Right. So like there's the idea of duplicity and dichotomy and non-binary thinking being true is so cool. And I think is a really weird spot for it in this, right? Because Petunia, we have seen Petunia be almost loving. The glimpses of it's right there at the tip of her teeth of being good and then choosing not to. It reminds me almost of the description of when Harry is looking at Dumbledore for the first time around the illegal Portkey or Fox or whatever it is when we go from Order of the Phoenix's Muggle, Arthur's little terrible accident with Nagini to the Grimmauld Place. And there's that description of Voldemort being right at the back of his eyes, ready to strike. And it feels like it's the same sort of energy with Petunia, where it's, man, those instincts to be good and nice and loving are just right there. And there is a mechanism in her that is shutting it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Who hurt you, Petunia? Who hurt you?
Lily.
Lily.
And Dumbledore.
By existing and saying no, sorry.
Yeah.
And also Vernon. Like, Vernon has done a lot of damage to her.
Oh,
this is true.
She definitely molded into what he wanted her to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You kind of wonder, like, what kind of headspace was Petunia in when they met? Because we don't really know, we don't know anything about how they met or when they met or how long they've been together before they have Dudley or anything like that. So you almost wonder, did they come across each other at pretty young ages? And so she was still pining after the world that she couldn't be a part of. And so, he came along to offer her something else. And then she was like very easily moldable into, his idea of what a perfect family would be. Or, was she already kind of jaded and had gone a little bit farther in her life? And, well, Petunia is younger than Lily, correct?
Older.
No, older.
She's older. Okay.
She's the older sister.
So she's older, but she's not that much older. And so if Lily was 21...
Yeah, she's like 23 or 24, I believe.
She's like 23 or 24. So it has to be, Vernon just found her young and impressionable, essentially. I'm sure he's not very far off from the same age. I do
wonder what the age gap is, though.
Yeah. He does seem like very much more assured. He's already got like a pretty good spot at Grunnings. So you would almost think maybe he is older. Maybe he was
feels older
already in his late 20s or something when they met. And
it feels very so like you wonder how these two sisters can be so different. But the reality is, I feel like they're so similar in the way that they give their all. So when Petunia was on the platform watching Lily go, she decided that they were all freaks, right? And she gave into that 1,000,000%. Lily gave into the light side's cause 100%, and even, ended up, she died for her son, but she also died. She would have died a hero anyway, I think. Yeah. Whether or not Harry was around. And then Petunia found that likeness and that hatred within Vernon for people who were not, quote unquote, normal and like regular type of people that met their standard. And so I feel like they just fed off of each other with that as well.
Yeah, we certainly, Vernon's prejudice hits at all levels, right? Like, before he even realizes that the people celebrating Voldemort's death in Sorcerer's Stone are wizards, he's hating them just because of their funny clothes. So you can imagine what other differences would make it, whether it's xenophobia or racism or homophobia or transphobia or whatever. You've got to, I think he's written as a character that imbues the quality of hatred.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see that Petunia, who comes from the same stock as Lily, has taken such a drastic route, and that I think that emotional departure takes place on the platform, like you're saying. But it is also interesting to me to wonder how much of her hatred of Harry might come from this idea that maybe they would have had 2 children should they not have had to take care of Harry.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've always thought they were really like a one child family, though, just because of how much she tries, and Vernon as well, tried to dote on Dudley. But I had always just imagined that they would only want one child to just give everything to, kind of that same thing of like Petunia gives her all in whatever she has put her mind to. So like she would give her all to her one child. But thinking of it in the way that, maybe that was taken from her, so she had to give her all to her one child. And she didn't have the opportunity to spread that to, maybe she wanted a daughter. Maybe, she feels deprived of that.
And I wonder how much of the like financial situation plays a part, right? Because Vernon is like, well, I think he's a director. So it's a very high up position at Grunnings. But they have a very expensive home in a very expensive neighborhood throughout the entire world. Like the suburbs of London are crazy. And so I just wonder how much like his force of like, nope, only 2 children. Now that we've got this, little rascal from your dead sister, we can't do anything else. And that creates seeds of despise and terribleness.
Yeah.
I can see that being true. Yeah, Vernon has some interesting theories.
I'd be interested to know more about Vernon's upbringing and how much older he is. Because it might be that Petunia's looking for such the exact muggle, what you want as a muggle person.
Right.
That maybe she's marrying quite a bit above her age for stability.
Yeah.
For
it's
financial
possible.
Security.
Yeah, I mean, he's already very much a company man. He is all about the job and all about the deals that he can make. And, he sits with his back facing the window, which just really, he's all in for Grunnings. It's just very interesting how much he's already like laser focused. And so she was probably attracted to that because, it's basically the exact opposite of everything that she's trying to run away from.
And very opposite from James, who never really feels that focused.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
Ugh. And Petunia keeps like weirdly backing up Vernon in this whole chapter. Like she just can't get away from her instincts, regardless of if she's like leaving the home that she's loved and really put blood, sweat, and tears into for the last however long they've been at it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she's kind of the opposite of what Vernon's dealing with right now. So he's very flustered. She seems very calm. She's only concerned with trying to defend Vernon, which is very opposite of her reaction to Vernon's flustering in Sorcerer's Stone, because in Sorcerer's Stone, she's very concerned about the way that her husband is acting, and she's like kind of panicked about his behavior. But in this chapter, she is only concerned with how Harry is treating Vernon. And so I kind of had questions about that. Like, is she just, she's just so used to Vernon's actions by now. His modus operandi is just to be flustered, and it's been 4 weeks that he's been doing this. Is she just like resigned to the fact that they will be leaving no matter if he changes his mind a million times? But then if that's the case, why is she not more on Harry's side with convincing Vernon to go? If he unpacks the car and they're supposed to leave in 5 minutes, then that's going to, throw a wrench into things. And, even when Harry originally told her that, Voldemort was back, she's concerned. She's almost fearful. She understands. They have that little moment of connection over like, is he really? And, Harry kind of for the first time realizes that maybe Petunia understands what that means. So then it just seems odd that now she would be backing up Vernon and not thinking that this threat was real. So I had a hard time like wrapping my head around what exactly she's thinking in these moments.
Yeah. I was looking up the birthdays of Petunia and Vernon.
Oh, great.
And if you go on the wiki for some reason, they have a picture of Jonah Hill as Vernon.
Oh my god.
What? Oh my god.
I sent it in a text and I don't understand.
Is that their fan cast?
It doesn't say that.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm like over here silently like dying. But it says, which I don't believe anything now on this page, 1954 for Vernon, and Petunia, I think it said was, but there's also 1956. So there's like a bunch of dates. So I would have to go on like Wizarding World to see if the official canon information is there. Because the other the other wiki has the picture of, what's his name? The actor. I can't remember his name.
Uh-huh.
And it says in or before 1961. So I don't know. No one knows.
In or before 19. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Interesting.
It also says marital status is widowed or married. So I'm not sure what that's referring to. Let's see
What?
That says. Oh.
Petunia's a ghost the whole time?
Never mind.
Oh my God.
I didn't know if it was the video game trying to come back to life and me being like, oh my God.
That's so
Whatever
funny.
that phone game is that they
Widowed.
cite.
Oh, yeah. Hogwarts, the other one.
The Hogwarts, the other one,
Which
yeah.
one oh my gosh.
So Vernon's either born in 1961 or it'd be really funny if he was like 19 when he has the Dudley. He's like 5 years younger than Petunia.
Oh my gosh.
And he just like inherited the house from Four Perfect Up. Because that's the other thing that makes me feel like he's quite a bit older is that when Dudley's 1, they already own a house in Surrey.
Yeah, that would be wild. And everything that I'm seeing says that he was probably probably around 40 when he married Petunia, which she was about 25 or so.
And that would track for Vernon.
That is yeah. I mean, that's a pretty significant age gap, but I mean, my grandma and my, my step grandfather, I guess, had 12 years between them.
12 years. Sorry.
That was also her second marriage, but still, I mean, I know plenty of people who have a similar age. I mean, once you're over, I'd say 25, once you're over like ish that area, it kind of all blends.
I mean, David Tennant and Georgia Tennant have a 14-year age difference.
And there's a lot of big age gaps. So, I mean, it tracks for both of them. Vernon would want someone who could help him carry on his family line, who could basically just be a housewife, which she is, and just, take care of everything while he brought in the money. And then she would want someone who would give her stability, security. He already has an established career. She can be a stay-at-home wife, stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home wife. And, I think it, in a horrible way, this marriage gave each of them what they wanted and needed.
Yeah.
Which was Dudley.
Dudley. Very, very quickly, everything in this chapter changes when Dudley gets on board with leaving.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's just a wonderful thing. But he's terrified. Dudley gets terrified in this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he finally has reason to trust Harry, after Harry saving him from the Dementors.
Yes.
But, even mentioned specifically in this chapter, what did you say to one another at the end of 16 years solid dislike? They've spent most of their lives hating each other for one or the other reason. And now that Dudley had some time to kind of mull over, maybe Harry's not so bad. Maybe we could have some sort of a relationship. Now he's jumping on the bandwagon of like, let's get out of here. There's more of those Dementors around. I'm out. Like, save me.
Yeah. He definitely had a turning point after his experience in Order. And you see him when... So what the author has said is that Dudley saw himself for who he truly is when that Dementor attack happened.
Yeah.
And then Dumbledore rolls in a year later and confirms, sitting on the couch, that his parents have ruined him.
Right.
So he has confirmation from someone who had nothing to do with the experience he had with the Dementor confirming that. And I think that was a massive turning point for him. And, I think that affected how he was treating Harry this summer, a year, after he had left with Dumbledore since that conversation. And I think it's so important because he's had all of this time to grapple with what was happening, and really he's I feel like he might be at war with himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And trying to, no one is born bad. There are so many outside sources that affect, who you become. And I think he's a really good example of someone that would have the ability to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He had an aha moment, if you will.
Which is just so exciting to see in teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so great when kids have aha moments. And so it's nice. It's really, I think the glowing moment of this chapter is Dudley's little revelation, or the reader's revelation that Dudley is and can be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I think mirrors well with, like, the way in which Voldemort could patch his soul back together, start to undo things
Oh, that's
through
good.
remorse.
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
Too bad.
I mean, was anyone really thinking that when Harry says, have some remorse, that Voldemort was going to be like, oh,
Oh, is that what I do?
You're right.
Okay. But, I mean, Dumbledore does say it probably would have killed him.
yeah.
Your soul's too broken.
That's so true.
Maybe if you would have only made one or maybe two, but no.
His soul would have pieced back together just to combust again.
Yeah. Those puzzle pieces don't fit anymore. Sorry.
I wonder if one of the ways that you can defeat a Horcrux. Sorry, just thinking about the Dementors with Dudley. I wonder if you could just, like, throw random objects at a Dementor, and if it basically eats it, you're like, oh, that was a Horcrux.
It's like Yoshi and eggs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dementors are like Yoshi. Lovely. That's the title episode. There you got it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I wonder if that's one of the ways. Like, all right, Basilisk Venom, and if a Dementor eats the object.
So good.
That'd be so funny. They're like, this is smaller than normal. Normally, human souls are a little bigger.
I'm not yet full.
The fun size edition.
Oh. Which really isn't fun at all. Let's be honest.
I know.
It's like, what are you going by, like Oreo sizes? Now they've got the family size.
I was thinking like those little pieces
candy
of candy.
bar.
Yeah. You get a Halloween
for,
that say fun size.
Yeah, totally.
Tricking
Halloween
kids
candy
into
for
believing that
Dementors.
less candy is better.
Right.
Fun size. Is it fun? Is it?
It's not.
No one likes this. F is for friends. Sorry, I will not SpongeBob myself here. Yeah.
You can with Katie.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. We're all in
I just don't want to get sued by Nickelodeon for singing their lovely copyrighted song.
That's valid.
Good God. Thank the Lord that Hestia and Dedalus show up, though, because otherwise it's just like an emotional wreck of an episode. And I'd also be very confused as to, like, where Vernon's driving to. Like, are they going to the little shack on the rock? So it's nice to know that someone...
I would love that.
Can you imagine if that actually was, like, Dedalus was actually tracking Harry the entire time in, like, a Mrs. Fig-like way, and so he's like, I remember when you took the boy here, Vernon.
The boy.
So why don't you be my boy for a bit and stay put? Just Dedalus is actually a poltergeist. Just super creepy.
I could see him becoming one. I mean,
Yes.
I
got the
think
hat.
that would
If you
know.
can become one.
That would be really funny. But yeah, I mean, so just to compare Dedalus and Hestia. So these are the two people who are sent specifically to guard the Dursleys. So like the Dursleys guard. And Hestia seems like a good choice. She's very competent. She's calm. Every time we've seen her, she seems like a good pick to guard muggles who potentially are distrustful of wizards. I mean, from the outside looking in, obviously they are distrustful. But she clearly hasn't been prepped on the Dursleys' treatment of Harry through the years. I mean, I guess who really could know all the intricate details of their treatment of him? He doesn't really complain too much about it, considering what all he's been through. You know, he does mention it to Ron. Obviously, Ron has witnessed the bars on his window, the not feeding him, all those things. But other than kind of the Weasleys, nobody really knows, I guess. So, her outrage at the Dursleys for their ignorance of, everything that Harry's about to do is kind of heartwarming. I mean, I think it's it's the only time that she really like breaks her professionalism, but I think it's very well warranted.
Yeah.
Whereas Dedalus is kind of like the exact opposite of maybe who you would want to send with the Dursleys. He's dotty, he's overly enthusiastic, he doesn't understand what muggles find easy or difficult, hence his thinking he's flattering Vernon by, you can drive?
Right.
You know, he has a very loud stopwatch that Vernon finds absolutely terrifying. Can't stop staring at his pocket after that goes off. So it does seem very interesting that they send just these two people who are total opposites and potentially not the best fit, at least in Daedalus's case. I am assuming that he is there for the same reason that he's there in the advance guard, which is because he volunteered and was like, oh, I get to see Harry again. Great. I'll do this. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I do find it really funny, Vernon's reaction, though. He's like, oh, if only I could have seen CVs, you know, maybe I'd feel more comfortable about who's, but honestly, what in Hestia and Daedalus's CVs, like, would have actually reassured Vernon?
Nothing.
Honestly,
Probably nothing.
Nothing. And what Harry should have done is just said, like, hey, Hestia and Dedalus, they've been taking Polyjuice Potion and have actually been your favorite politicians, Vernon, for the last 30 years. Or, hey, you know, you saw Kingsley, but they're actually the ones who are protecting the minister. Kingsley's just this random guy that you've seen on television. They're actually the ones orchestrating. Like, just lied. Just put him at ease.
Yeah.
Or just put him out of his misery. One of those two.
I don't know that would have
Petunia
worked.
Dudley
Oh, well, Vernon's met Kingsley in person, too.
Yeah.
Because Kingsley comes to the house and he's impressed by him. I think Vernon's assumption that they are important enough to have Kingsley, who's currently guarding the prime minister, is just hilarious.
Yeah.
Because he clearly only thinks that because of their importance in Harry's life. So, like, if Vernon, you know, if Harry was giving Vernon more perks along the way, would he have been nicer?
No. The answer's no.
Nah.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think Vernon knows how to be nice.
This is fair.
I've never seen him have a nice bone in his body. I feel like Dedalus is just there to swallow up some curses. Like, they're like, he seems like good fodder. We should put him on a broom. Hestia seems like the one who's actually in charge. And it is nice, as you were saying, Sierra, to like have her be the voice of reason with how terrible muggles are. Or not muggles. That'd be funny. How terrible the Dursleys are. Because we so rarely get to see how other people think about the Dursleys treating Harry in the moment. And the fact that Petunia is going to like was so in awe of Dudley being nice to Harry. And Hestia is just like, get the hell out of here with that nonsense.
It's pretty hilarious how she is expecting Petunia to go and embrace Harry and then is so gobsmacked when she's embracing Dudley instead. I think that's pretty hilarious. I mean, going back to, though, the Dudley Harry goodbye, it is honestly one of my favorite parts of this book. Maybe even up there in, like, series just as, like, specific moments. And, like, shame on WB for cutting it out of the film.
Yeah.
Because it would have been so nice. And anytime I've ever seen, like, the missing clip pop up online somewhere, the comments are just full of people being like, why did they cut this? And
poor movie watchers, people who only, you know, do movies, which if that's your jam, that's your jam. I don't care. But
that could be an entire segment, poor movie watchers.
Honestly, though, poor movie watchers for the people who only watch the movies, and then poor movie watchers for the people who read the books and watch the movies.
Yeah. Oh man.
What was me?
Yeah.
That's not a segment. That's a whole episode right there.
Yeah.
It's a series.
Patreon content.
A season.
A full season. Yeah. It really, you know, it's like Dudley's concern for Harry not going with them. It's kind of adorable. Like, he's finally coming around to being a decent human being. You know, I think it's kind of like, does he think that they're safer with Harry? Or does he think that Harry is safer with them, like going into hiding? I feel like maybe it's both. You know, Harry already saved his soul. Dudley wants Harry to stay alive and to know what happened to him. So... yeah, I feel like it's got to be both. You know, he wants to feel safe because now he feels safe around Harry instead of feeling scared of him. And he also, like, doesn't want anything to happen to Harry. And he probably understands maybe a little bit of, like, what Harry is going to be facing because he's faced the Dementors. And he's like, well, if there's things like that out there, what is going to happen?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm very neutral in this scene. Like, I wasn't that put out when it wasn't in the movie. I was like, oh, okay, they skipped that. I don't know. I mean, from a film standpoint, I think you can understand for the pacing reasons, because the Deathly Hallows Part 1 is like so long, and they tried to do that book such justice in order to set up Part 2, and then they like botched a bunch of Part 2. It's fine. I'm not still mad. But I don't like. I like the nice bit of growth for Dudley. I don't like the fact that Harry doesn't really get his justice on years worth of tumultuous abuse. Like, I kind of wish he was having glasses of wine bounce on Vernon's head for the rest of eternity.
That would be a good purgatory.
Yeah, but my heart does absolutely pang when Dutters gets all concerned that Harry's not going with them. Yeah, like that is a very sweet moment, and I'm glad that we get it in the book. I mean, it would have been so unsatisfying if we had started like at the Burrow and not gotten to say goodbye to Privet Drive or seen the flight or said bye to the Dursleys. Like, I'm glad that we got to do this. I'm amazed that I when I went to go read this chapter, I was amazed that it was like, oh, the Dudley and Dursley goodbye is like, it's a whole chapter. Because, you know, Rowling does all of these chapters early on in the series where it's like portion and then another portion and then another portion. We get like multiple different scenes within the same chapter. And so having a chapter that is just one scene was like, oh, whiplash. Oh my God. And it's just the Dursleys. Damn it. We're doing the Dursleys again. And it's all Dursleys this time. Like, it was a funky battle.
Yeah. I was rereading and going through, and then I got to the end of the chapter and I go, oh, I forgot that it was just these goodbyes. I you know, had it in my head that at least part of
the guard,
you know, the guard arriving or something like that was a part of this chapter, or even at the beginning of the chapter I was expecting, you know, he's cleaning out his trunk. I thought that was this chapter instead of the chapter before. Yeah. And I was going, oh wow, it really just is this like microcosm moment of just Harry and Dursley's relationship coming to an end.
It's kind of like you don't realize that we like needed it.
Yeah.
Until after you've read it.
Well, yeah, I think it's a pretty beautiful way for the author to kind of like nod back to books 1 through 6. And we always do get that like recap at the beginning of the book of like from 2 through 6 about like what's been going on. And this is Harry Potter. He's a wizard. Like we all forgot. But it really is like a nice nod to a younger version of Harry and what he's experienced and went through. And for the readers to remember, this is where you're coming from. And this is the culmination of these things. And it's also kind of like a nod and a little like hug to the readers, like, and especially the dedication of this book is to us. And I just feel like it's a very nice way to close Privet Drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you know the Death Eaters absolutely are going to F up this house.
Maybe
even just out of spite.
Yes.
I kind of hope that they go and there's no pictures of Harry and all of them are like, is this the right house? I don't think this is the right house.
What is this place?
That's true.
Who's this kid? Yeah. And then they find like a random Gryffindor banner and they're like, oh.
Oh, Avada Kedavra. Just blasting the house to fire with the death spell. It's fine. My head's fine. It's cool. Yeah, I really hope the Death Eaters do go and mess up that house.
I don't see why they wouldn't, you know? They love to do that kind of stuff.
It's interesting that Rowling said in a movie interview that when they built Privet Drive, it ended up being like almost an exact replica of one of the houses that she grew up in and that she hated.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Wreck it.
I mean, that's very fitting, though.
Mm-hmm.
Have y'all been in the Privet Drive? Have y'all been out to the WB studio tours in London?
I haven't.
I have.
Yeah, Katie went.
It's really weird. I mean, it's so all the sets are so much smaller than they seem because that's the beauty of television and movies.
Film, yeah.
But it like the entire house exists.
So cool.
That's
you can
really
like walk
cool.
in and it's wild to be in there.
Yeah, it really is.
I would love to do that one day. I haven't done the studio tour. I've been to like the not on a set locations, like all the in location places and Oxford and stuff. So I've seen all the like out and about places.
The places that they filmed in the first two movies, and then they were like, it's super expensive to be on location, and now we're going to build all the sets instead.
Kicking hundreds of people out of a place for a few hours.
Yeah. Almswick Castle is like, but no one's ever here.
Yeah, I do. I really do hope that someone contacted Dudley after the events of the Battle of Hogwarts, just be like, hey, your cousin's alive. Even if it was, like Hestia or Dedalus or somebody who like saw
I'm sure it's Dedalus.
Exchange. Dedalus.
Yeah, I feel like they were probably with them for the duration of this war.
Yeah.
So
but they'd be getting information.
So what I think I said on our episode, I'm trying to pick my brain because sometimes I record and then I forget everything. Because my brain only has so much space.
Yes. And then you re-listen and you go, I said that? Oh.
I said that. Oh, that's a great genius 100%. Thought. So like as they're in this safe house, and I love this for the Dursleys because it's like a giant middle finger to them. They are going to be getting updated because they are in the order on all of Harry's like goings on that get leaked to not only the order, but to like mainstream wizarding world. Mm-hmm. So like all of Harry's escapes and wins and all of that is going to be heard by the Dursleys. And I just want them to know like how amazing Harry actually is and how much you actually suck.
Yeah, I'm sure that they're avid listeners to Potter Watch, and I bet Petunia and Dudley also listen to that radio program.
Probably.
Yeah. So it's like they've got to be doing something. You know, they have to be getting information. And I just hope that it's like just more confirming for Dudley. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it doesn't wake up Vernon and Petunia, I don't believe. But at least,
especially given the fact that, there's on that shack on the island, there's nothing to do. Like they have no television, so they just have to watch Dedalus shoot off a bunch of fireworks and go, ooh,
look at my robes.
I'm sure Dedalus is best friends with Vernon at the end of this. That this is how Vernon turns around on wizards.
Oh my God, yes.
They wear matching hats too.
No, please.
Vernon's just gone so stir crazy that it's the only thing he has.
Yeah.
Dedalus comes to work at Grunnings.
Oh my God.
Right?
Oh my God. Hey guys, I brought somebody who can do all the factory work just by himself, so give me my job back, please.
But everyone has to leave and no one can watch.
Can you? Because like Vernon would be the type of guy that goes back to Grunnings after a year of not showing up to work and being like, "All right, I'm ready to work again." And they're like, "No, you've been fired." He's like, "I've been what?"
You'd have to imagine that they like handled something with his job and like he's on a extended leave or something.
Somebody's funded in some way.
Yeah. Or I'm sure he has never used a day of PTO in his entire career. So he has a year's worth of PTO saved up, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? Or Dedalus' real talent are memory charms.
And that's why he's so dotty. He tried them on himself.
Lockhart style. Lovely. I kind of wish that, because we get this great exit with Dudley where it's like, I don't think you're a waste of space and why aren't you coming with us? And, this little handshake and bye, Big D. I kind of wish that was not the full exit. The idea that Rowling said that she had for having Dudley at King's Cross on the platform in the epilogue with the magical child, I don't think that I'll ever really let that go.
No.
I love that so much more. And especially because the sense of justice that I'm talking about for Harry's upbringing, I feel like that is satiated for me by the fact that Vernon and Petunia have to deal with having a magical grandchild.
Yes.
And I just want it so bad. I want it. Give it to me. Do it now. I want it. Give me it.
I agree. I feel very unfulfilled by not having that, knowing that idea exists. I also think that it's such a good way to bring reality back into it, because I feel like that's very accurate to sibling relationship. I mean, they were essentially raised as siblings in the same house and under the same roof, same age, everything. And I think that's very accurate to a lot of sibling relationships. You don't get along as you're growing up, even into like early adulthood. But then I've heard so many stories of people who, they get into their late 20s, they get into their 30s, even their 40s, and then all of a sudden they and their sibling are dealing with something similar and that only adulthood could bring, and then that brings them back together, and then they become friends. And they bond over something that they can finally have a connection about, and it's it kind of erases the past almost on everything that they used to disagree about. And so I feel like we kind of miss out on getting to see the outcome of Dudley's change and, the vindictive nature of you have a magical grandchild to Vernon and Petunia would just be so good. And I do really wish that we had that. It's them becoming friends is a far cry from Harry hunting. And I think that that would be, we are missing out, I think.
Yeah, and
totally.
the author did way back when in 2007 on a Bloomsbury chat confirmed that Harry and Dudley are, and I don't like this because it makes me sad. I wish they were closer. They're on Christmas card terms, and they'll get the kids together just so the kids can see their cousins, but they kind of just sit there, which makes me sad because we had such a beautiful buildup to what could have been a real positive sibling friendship. And she shut it down.
I know.
You could have lied.
Yeah.
and it's so unfortunate because it just perpetuates the division between Lily and Petunia.
Yeah.
And you would hope that people could break the cycle. And I know that again, this is sort of the difference in this chapter, like y'all were pointing out earlier, and there's the realism and then there's the poetic through line. And I'm hoping so much for the poetic through line in this of hey, we get together, it's the last book, things are happy and good. But then the reality is Petunia isn't going to say shit.
Right.
And Dudley and Harry probably aren't ever going to be the best of buds because Dudley used to literally stuff Harry's Ted down a toilet. So I love the realism. Yeah. I love the realism, but I also really am desperate for something more.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
So much is full circle in this book, too, because, for example, Remus dies and leaves an orphan son, just like Harry in the whole, Marauder family. So, this would make sense for him to have a magical child, but whatever. Whatever. It's fine.
As a side note, as soon as Harry was named Godfather, I was like, well, they're dead.
No way. On your original reread or original read?
On my original read,
Stop.
I literally,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Harry's going to be Godfather, and I was like, well, it's just going to be the same thing over again. You can't name a Godfather and then,
Oh my God, I'm so
And then
impressed.
survive.
yeah, I was like, no, okay, well, they're dead now. Great.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You little smarty pants.
And what's wild about it is that Dolohov, who kills Lupin, we hear about how dueling extraordinaire he is through bits and means, but he doesn't even really seem that great in Order of the Phoenix. Like, Hermione just silencios him. I almost said Emma. Hermione silencios him, and then he like takes her out with the little pink slashy thing non-verbally, but it's not even that good of a spell. And so like the fact that he gets taken out by that and then Bella gets Nymphadoras will always be a bit rankling to me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one really sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. For Dolohov, I guess we just don't know quite enough about him, but it could be the difference of he's attacking a child versus he's attacking a werewolf, and the prejudices that could come into play. Like, it's a full adult man and he's a werewolf and he knows that. And I feel like maybe he'd be a little bit more aggressive than like a child. Because maybe, we don't know, like, does Dolohov have kids? Maybe he has a kid and he's like, oh. I mean, clearly they're not like concerned about attacking children, but I don't think their mission is to kill children.
Well,
some of them.
Lucius says kill the others if you have to. But I also then wonder, in this scenario, you're assuming that Dolohov doesn't immediately register that Hermione's a Muggle-born.
Right.
Oh.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know at that time how much the Death
Does he
Eaters
know
know
about
about
the trio?
anybody else other than Harry. Like,
Are
they're
you
all
thinking
kind
they
of
just aren't
spares.
trying as hard because they don't think that kids could be as strong as they were?
There's also that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I
think
never even
that's-
thought about the Muggle-born thing.
About that, the fact that Hermione's Muggle-born and he's probably like, I can kill
And
her. No, just
and that would
no
make a
problem.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible. I mean, if they knew, maybe they would have been harsher.
I mean, that's one of the wild things about this whole prejudice is like, Voldemort sort of spares Neville because he's pureblood, you know?
Right.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like that's wild to me.
Mm-hmm.
And thinks
Just
that
from a character
he can,
standpoint.
like, change him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the biggest surprise and one of the biggest things to fill in Voldemort's character a little bit for me. And it was like, wow, this is late to fill in this detail. I thought that he was way more merciless against those who would like oppose him, that he would just kill them instantly. But the fact that he's like, pure blood. All right, you can
He's got to
stay
keep
around
it
with me.
going, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
like,
makes
there's
the
only 28
exception
of
for the
you.
Weasleys.
Well, yes.
Yeah. Well, and then for James as well, obviously.
Yeah. But that's James is just because he's in the way.
Do you know that James's mother was a Dumbledore?
Hey?
No, I'm kidding.
What?
I do this like once an episode where I just come up with a random fact and everyone's like, what? And, no.
I
it's totally-
love that.
I know. Now I can never trust you. No, I'm just kidding.
Man, I thought Sam was saying everything correctly, and now I don't think he's ever read the books.
It's actually Sam who put Jonah Hill's picture on the wiki for Uncle Ben.
Did you do that? I wonder if it's still there. I wonder if anybody took it down. That literally made my day, by the way.
That's super funny.
That would have
Good
been,
old
I did
Jonah.
not, I promise. I did not put Jonah Hill there.
Let's go back.
Yeah, what a strange chapter. I mean, Petunia and Harry's goodbye is just as weird feels as Dudley and Harry, where it's like, and we were talking about it earlier, this idea that Petunia could potentially be nice, and then she doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the realism, right, of like, she's not going to, but also like I need her to fulfill sort of this emotional through line that we've had since Order of the Phoenix, right? Never has she looked like at Harry like that before. That's like the narration. And we get this letter and like we get this feeling that like maybe she is looking out for Harry. Oh, maybe this could be a Mrs. Figg situation where she knows Vernon's gonna like, and like I don't need any of that to be true. I don't need it to be like she can just be a terrible woman and that's fine. But it's it's so good because it creates this great emotional response, but it's also so unsatisfying, and not in a bad way. It's not like I'm like, oh man, like I really think they botched this with Petunia's character, but like, oh God, I just want to claw into her brain and be like, press the button that says, say something.
Right. Yeah, I need to know, you know, she's clearly mulling things over. She's like biting her lip. Clearly something is right on her mind. What is she about to say? You know, is she going to wish Harry luck? Is she just going to ask him not to die? You know, maybe say something a little bit more emotional that maybe she actually cares for him in some way, or
even her saying, hey, could you say thank you? Like, we're probably not going to see you again. And we did raise you. Even something like that.
Even something like, I mean,
Can you imagine? I would have died.
Oh my gosh. Just something. I just feel like her leaving without saying anything is just such a non-closure moment. But I guess that really, you know, still goes back to the realities versus, you know, the poeticism of
and just
the
like
chapter.
Dudley setting up the like Voldemort remorse through line. The fact that we get no closure with Petunia does set up a couple of different people. We don't get closure with Alastor Moody. We don't get closure with Remus Lupin. We don't get closure. Oh, well, I guess we do through Potter Watch, but we don't get closure with Tonks. We don't get closure with a lot of people because they all die off screen. And my greatest hope is that we get to see all of their deaths happen. This is a weird greatest hope to have. All of their deaths happen in the new series whenever it comes out that they do decide to move the camera away from Harry for a while.
Yeah. I do wonder what they will do when they eventually get there. You know, we're going to have to wait 10 plus years for that, but
it's fine.
It will be interesting to see if they're going to stay true to what is on / off screen from the book. And keep it that way, or if we will actually see those events taking place.
Every duel, like he's actually just part of the Dolohov duel and Remus dies, and then he's like, ooh, 0 for 1, and then he's part of the duel with Bellatrix and Tonks, and he's like, ooh, 0 for 2. Man, I really can't save anyone.
I don't know. I feel like he doesn't need to be a part of those things because
I agree.
He's got his own thing going. Yeah,
we've had bad decisions made before, though.
Yeah. I guess it really just depends on kind of like what their lens is going to be. You know, because if everything is just from Harry's view,
their lens will be Dudley rushing into battle and being eaten by one of Aragog's children.
That would be epic. I just don't need the addition of any like fancy pants stuff for whatever technology is going to be hot at the time. For the love of God, if Voldemort doesn't drop as a human body, I will smash my TV.
Oh my God.
Tiffany?
Yes. We don't need to fly when we're not supposed to. We don't
fuse together in apparition and then symbolically show the separating of souls through flight.
We don't need
mist.
that.
He doesn't feel the Horcruxes being destroyed. I don't want any of that. Bellatrix does not set the burrow on fire.
No.
Can we stop with all the nonsense?
But how else do you set up the sexual tension between Harry and Ginny? Oh, wait, no, there's plenty of source material for that.
Yeah.
That's something I'm looking forward to.
His actual tension with Ginny and Harry.
I just want to see like a good portrayal. Like Bonnie, you're great. I'm sorry, but
Bonnie did great with the directions.
It wasn't what we needed.
No.
Yeah, I think the thing that you know, off topic as per usual, but I think the thing that rankles me the most when books are turned into TV or movies is not the removal of things, although I wish that they didn't do that, but I get it. They have time constraints or limitations of like portraying something. I get it. You have to remove stuff. But why add things that don't happen? That just drives me wild. Like, there's no point in adding something in if it's not going to help. Like that you're just wasting time. Like you could have added something else in from the book.
Yeah.
To me, that comes from a problem of being too in the creation process and then having to do stuff like focus groups. Because I'm fairly certain, and I could be very wrong, but I'm fairly certain that like the Burrows scene was born out of this idea that like Bellatrix and Fenrir Greyback weren't either understood. Like Bellatrix wasn't understood and wasn't feared as much as she should be because we've lost all of Neville's storyline.
They had to make up for it.
Yeah, and Fenrir Greyback hadn't been introduced whatsoever except for like one scene at the very beginning of the film, so that they wanted to create some sort of menace. And also they botched sort of this like monster in Harry's chest purring for Ginny and Aurelia's least favorite thing ever. And so they were like, well, we got to get the tension up with a bathrobe
Shoelaces?
tying scene. Yeah, bathrobe shoelace tying scene. And then setting the house on fire with Molly still in it. And
She feeds him too. Please don't forget this.
Wait,
and it's the worst moment in the world.
Yes.
Wait, when does she feed him? I forget.
She feeds him, and then Ron comes and sits on the couch between them with his big stack of pies.
It is horrid.
You've clearly blocked it out for good reason.
Like, it's so uncomfortable. Like, I don't want any of your listeners to think I'm dumping on actors or anything. This is clearly direction that these people have taken.
Yeah.
I'm not by any means doing that. And I do really enjoy watching the movies, but there's some parts that are just absolutely laughable and that we cannot not point out.
Yeah.
I think that about literally every Ginny Harry moment. I'm just like, it's so cringy. I mean,
it is very
which like, you know, teenage angst and relationships is very cringy, but that's like too much. I don't need it in my face.
I will say the Harry, I like in Deathly Hallows, or not Deathly Hallows, Half-Blood Prince, like there are many Ginny Harry moments that I'm like, ooh, I feel like we didn't nail that. Especially the like, you can hide me up here if you like, which I remember in the theater being like, what did she say? I like literally didn't hear the line. But Deathly Hallows Part 1 is one of the best Harry Ginny moments because it includes Holy George sneaking into the kitchen. That was
a good one.
Morning.
Yeah, okay. I will give you that one.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Come on now. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, this chapter is sort of a weird cluster of, I don't know. It's such a, like you're saying, Sierra, it's such a journey to the rest of the book that it's hard not to talk about the rest of Deathly Hallows. And then when you talk about the rest of Deathly Hallows, you talk about all of Harry Potter because this book is so much a like reminder of what's gone on in the past.
Yeah.
But I'm also very happy to be rid of the Dursleys if my bar song didn't convince you all of that earlier.
But before they leave, we are going to go to our 7 ingredients of today's special.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
The 7 people in this chapter, and I say people in quotes, because number 2 on our list, not technically a person, but a very big personality. So
you dare despise the Hedwig? Don't you? She's a person. She's also an unregistered animagus. She's actually Lily, and we don't find out until she's killed in the cage.
Oh my gosh, no.
She's on borrowed time.
No.
It just pains me.
I know.
We have that chapter coming up. Next, Katie gets that part. I refuse.
So the 7 people in this chapter: Harry, Hedwig, Vernon, Petunia, Dudley, Hestia, and Dedalus.
And Tortuga the turtle that's out in the hedges.
The turtle.
Still around.
Still living off of the scraps thrown out the window by Dudley, who feeds his tortoise every day. I'm sorry I threw you out the window, but I can't let you back in the house. Yeah, I mean, the 7 people, it's weird because it feels so Harry Dursley centric, and that's just 4 people. But yeah, thank God that Hestia and Dedalus show up, and then poor Hedwig just getting anxious to fly and wanting to leave her cage, and then she doesn't, and then she's dead. And
yes,
and
don't let the movie
sinks.
get in your brain. Hedwig never gets her last flight.
No, it's
big crocodile tears for the
Yeah.
no flight.
real tears on my face.
Same. I remember sitting in my bed reading that and rereading it to make sure that I read it correctly.
Me
And
too.
that's so early on. So it's like, you know, I get the book at midnight. I go back to my house, however much time that takes. So it's like we're well in the morning, the early morning hours, and I'm just crying by myself in my room.
That was a bad moment. That was the only time that I've ever spoken out loud about Harry Potter while I've been reading it. And I was full of a cabin it was in a cabin full of young boys. And I just went, oh, Hedwig dies. Oh no, I'm so sorry, everyone.
You ruined it for how many?
I 17. 17 kids and 2 counselors.
Oh my God.
All reading Harry Potter.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, but aside from you ruining that, that's like a cool situation. Like hanging out in a cabin, all reading the same book. That's awesome.
Oh no, I mean the Harry Potter books were crazy. We had this mailing system at this camp. It's called Owatonna. It's out in Harrison, Maine. And we were all of us were on like the Sunday after the Saturday that it came out, they would all arrive in the mail. And the mailing system was always handled by like one woman, but she would call as many people as she knew around the area to come and help out, because Harry Potter delivery days over the past decade were so crazy much that the sorting, it was like working at the post office. All of these boxes would suddenly be on the camp property. And like some kids would just go over and dig through the pile and find their book and move on. But like they were putting boxes here and there and trying to get them sorted by alphabetical order of the kids who were in which cabin. And it was so cool because the entire camp would basically almost stop for 2 or 3 days. Like reading club would become one of the immediate activities. And like, it was such a cool cultural moment to be a part of, with everyone sort of reading. And then you get like the couple of kids, that were like, oh, I hate this. Like Katie felt initially being like, you guys are all terrible. Like I will never forget that there was a kid there, my cousin actually, who was like, a series of unfortunate events is way better than Harry Potter. And I was like, I love those books, but get the out of here. Oh, yeah. So I'm sorry to all of Cabin 1 that year and 2 that heard me go, no, Hedwig's dead. My apologies for doing that. But, it's been a number of years. So 15 years, in fact. Oy, that feels bad. Yeah. Those 7 people are crazy, and I'm so sorry about Hedwig, and I will continue to cry all the time.
Yes.
I know that like the idea of this white bird flying around England and Scotland and Ireland and wherever else they go is like, I guess Wales is the only other country I should mention before they come at me with their consonants. But I know that the white bird flying around is like a pretty dead giveaway. Yeah. And that like, oh, Harry's now here. Like, hey, Death Eaters, just like fly above the trees for a little bit and use some binoculars and you'll probably find out where Harry is.
Should have been able to like transfigure her into like a sparrow.
That's what I was going to say. It feels like it feels like the author just wasn't creative enough here, which is terribly stupid to say. But I kind of feel the same way that I about Hagrid stuff that I do about Fred's, which I'm like, Remus I can take, Snape I can take, Nymphadora I can take, whoever else dies during the entire battle, like I can, Lavender Brown, whether she be living or dying, I can take. Fred, I'm like, but why? I don't want George to only live without Fred for the rest of his life. That sucks.
I know.
And I feel this same way about Hedwig, where I'm like, but why can't we just
the meaning behind her death, though, I think is definitely not that Harry really had any innocence going along with him, but like her death symbolizing the loss of Harry's, 6 years. Innocence and that. But I feel like that's been long gone. You know what I mean?
I feel like we could have symbolized it, just by him And Ginny kissing one more time.
No. Shoelace.
Ugh. I have many things with Deathly Hallows that I wish had happened, which is why it does not rank as part of my favorite books. So sorry.
That's okay.
Are you sure? Shall we beef? No. This isn't the beginning of a long rivalry between Swish and Flick and the Three Broomsticks.
We would never. We
Definitely
would never.
not. But this is, I guess this is part of the reason why people should come listen to your podcast as well. They can hear why Deathly Hallows is the best from your perspective.
Oh, Tiff will convince you.
Yeah.
Oh, but then they should bring me on so I can talk about Deathly Hallows and we can go at it with fisticuffs.
Fisticuffs. Oh my goodness.
The Battle of the Hallows.
That would be epic.
That would be
epic.
That'd be funny.
But until then, thank you guys so much for visiting us here at the
Yes.
Three Broomsticks. It was really great having you guys here and chatting with us. Where can people find your podcast or anything else that you guys want to plug right now?
Oh, sure. You can find us on any podcast listening platform. We are Swish and Flick Podcast. We're that beautiful purple scroll logo designed by Katie and Megan, who are my co-hosts. Katie, you're amazing. Just shout out to you right now.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Swish Flick Cast, and
nice.
we have a Patreon. We have extra episodes. We do trivia. We do swag boxes and a hangout. So there's lots of stuff if you want some extra content or to support our podcast in any way. So you can find us on Patreon. And I think the thing that we like to let listeners coming into our podcast know is that it's supposed to feel like you're sitting down with your friends at a book club. And that's the kind of vibe we want to give off. We have fun, we joke, but we also are like super serious in the content where we're going to give you things that are canon. And we pull from all sorts of things like mythology and sources from the author, themes that run along in the books, such as like numbers and colors and meanings behind those things. So not only are you going to have fun and joke around and get on some really wild inside jokes and maybe laugh out loud at work and get in trouble. It's possible. We always encourage that. But like you're also going to be learning right along with us. So that's us. Katie, anything else to add?
No, that was amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah. I also want to say thanks for having us on. It was a lot of fun.
Yes. We appreciate
thanks.
the invite.
Oh, anytime. Literally, we would love to have you on as much as humanly
Yes,
possible. You guys are great.
Thank you.
If you would like to buy us, the Three Broomsticks, the next round, head over to patreon.com/3 broomsticks. That's with the numeral 3 to sign up. We're offering bonus content, chats with the hosts, and on-episode shoutouts to our Patreons. We also, big stuff is coming. We've been in our Slack really generating some Patreon ideas. So be excited, get ready, put the key in the ignition of the Ford Anglia and start ready to fly, everyone. we got a big journey in front of us. We would also really appreciate the help in keeping the lights on at the Three Broomsticks so we can talk about Harry Potter for a long time to come. You can also help us out by rating and reviewing us. We will read those reviews if they're 5 stars. No, I'm kidding. All reviews. And if you like our show, don't forget to tell your friends. We are early on. This is episode, 18? So we're early on, and the word of mouth helps us hugely, and we always love to see that sort of connection being grown about Harry Potter.
Yep, and you can find us on social media, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. Our assorted handles can be found in the episode description or on our website, which is 3broomstickspod.com, with 3 spelled out as a word. Also on our website, you can find links to any essays or reading material that we mention. You can submit a topic for us to discuss. You can let us know your thoughts. write comments on the bottom, and maybe they'll be read out on one of the next episodes. You can also email us any of those topic suggestions, thoughts, anything at 3broomstickspod@gmail.com. That is the numeral 3 this time. And we would love to hear from all of you.
Next time we meet at the Three Broomsticks, we'll be discussing what the Harry Potter books would look like as horror novels.
Ooh.
I'm Sam Williams.
I'm Sierra Obermark. Thank you for listening. See you next time at the Three Broomsticks.
Cheers! Give me big old buckets of butter beer. Give me big old barrels of butter beer. Give me the drink I love so dear. And another round for my friend right here. Give me big old buckets of butter beer. Give me big old barrels of butter beer. Give me the drink I love so dear. And another round for my friend right here of the sweet old butter beer.
This episode of The Three Broomsticks was edited by Patrick Musilek. The theme song was written and performed by the Faithful Sidekicks. Make sure to check them out at thefaithfulsidekicks.com.
Okay. Sierra, do you want to just pause your track, listen back to it, see if it sounds okay, and then move from there? Okay, I think that would be good. Uno momento. Sorry, Tiffany and Katie.
That's all right. Honestly, it happens every time you have a guest. It's just the way it is.
Every time.
Well, especially with the new move having just been like less than 2 weeks or something like that, right? Yeah, first pod since moving is crazy. Okay. Oh, okay, I see. So I guess we're just gonna go, and
we're just gonna go with it, and we will see what this is picking up, and hopefully it's fine.
I mean, you're nice and quiet, so it's not like the Skype call when Irvin's on, and he lives in Astoria, Queens, in New York City, and so it sounds like he's living in the street.
Yeah.
I think I remember that when we recorded with him.
Street. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was it was like pretty loud, like off and on.
Yeah, it's crazy. He does everything right. Like, all the windows are closed, the AC's off. Like, he boils himself for us when he does that. And we, our episodes can be quite long, so he'll be there for like 3 or 4 hours. Just dying. Okay.